All right. Hello, everyone. My name is GENZO Yamamoto, Director of Knowledge Management at Opportunity International. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. This breakout is meant to bring one part of our 2025 impact report to life, specifically the Ultra Poor Graduation Program. Many of you are already familiar with with this program. So instead of going into describing the program, we'd like to spend this time to give you a chance to hear from our program leaders, to explore a few noteworthy aspects that may be of interest. As you know, the graduation program serves families living in deep or ultra poverty. These are people truly in extreme circumstances, and yet, with support, they are able to get on their feet and start their journeys towards stable livelihoods, greater well-being for themselves and their families, with impacts that even reach their communities. This is an intentionally holistic and time-bound program. It combines life stabilization, financial and psychosocial coaching, and livelihood development support. The impact report provided a look at our work in Haiti. Today, we thought we could explore the work being done in Colombia and Malawi, in particular, how livelihoods are built and how partnerships strengthen the work. We hope to have some time for Q&A later on, so please try to remember the questions even as we go through our time together. I'm very pleased to be joined by two colleagues who are intimately acquainted with this work, Richard CHONGO and CAMILO GARCIA from Malawi and Colombia, and they know their programs and the clients that these programs serve intimately. And between these two examples, you will see two very contrasting contexts. One is a rural context where livelihoods are deeply tied to agriculture, seasonality, and community level constraints. The other, an urban environment where clients face different pressures, informal labor, dense markets, and complex partnerships. But both clients from both are navigating the same journey out of extreme poverty. Richard and Camilo, thank you for being here with us and for sharing your experience with us today. To start, I have asked each of you to share one client story to ground us in what clients experience through this program. Camilo, would you be willing to start us off?
Thank you, Genzo, and thank you all for joining us today. Laura is a 24-year-old woman, one of our 500 clients from Cohort 2 in Cartagena, Colombia. She lives in an informal and vulnerable community that hosts hundreds of families affected by forced migration from Venezuela, internal displacement, and living in extreme poverty. Laura grew up in a very difficult context. Her father abandoned her family when she was just a child, and she had to help her mother selling candy and fruits on the streets to survive. At age 15, Laura got pregnant. She was expecting a baby that had a serious condition, and doctors said her baby might not survive. Laura let God decide. Her son was born. He survived. Today, he lives with a complex disability and requires special care and support, and that's why Laura cannot leave home to work. When we knocked on her door, at first he was doubtful, because many organizations have made unfulfilled promises before. But this time, with training, support, faith, and her love for her children, things began to change. Through the graduation program, Laura received a consumption stipend, training in savings, financial literacy, business, and life skills, followed by a productive asset, a food cart. Laura used to have one meal per day. Now she has three. She went from earning $1.30 to $4.30 per day. From no assets to owning productive assets, valued today at over $1,000. From no savings to $135 saved. She exited extreme poverty. Laura's story reminds us that when opportunity meets courage, faith, and the right support, even the most fragile starting point can become the beginning of a new future for an entire family and an entire community. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Camilo. And Richard, could you give us a picture from Malawi?
No, thank you, Genzo. And I'm very happy to see a lot of familiar faces and also making new friends. So today I would like to share a story of Charity Nyadani, whom I first met about 24 months ago. So Charity is a young mother of two and she's married. She lives in a remote village in Lilongwe, which is the capital city of Malawi. And really Charity shares a story of transformation that inspires me every day. So about 24 months ago, Charity's mornings began with uncertainty. On a good day, she managed to secure 2 meals for her family, but on most days, it was just one meal. And the hunger shaped every decision that she made. So she was just eating what was available, not what was nutritious. And that compromised her own health and the health of her children. And honestly, when I first met Charity, her reality reflected the harshest face of poverty. Now, despite being married, she carried the primary responsibility of providing for her family. And this is the true reality of many women and youth in similar situations in Malawi. Her household faced deeper levels of poverty and social exclusion. So all her time was just locked to finding food for her family. And for Charity to survive, she would occasionally go into people's houses to wash their clothes, to work in their gardens, just for a small wage, maybe $1 or $2 if on a good day. And the income was very consistent. She had no productive assets, no stable source of income, and she was just living on a day-to-day basis. She was very unsure of what to feed her children and her family. And her children usually could not afford to go to school, and she used them as coping strategies to help her work on small tasks so that she could find food for her family. And as you can see, she was socially isolated because all her time she was now using it to find food for her family. She could not participate in any group, in community development groups or any social gatherings. But I think what I want to emphasize now is that Charity's story is not just about struggle. It is about hope and also possibility. So through the targeted support, we saw that Charity began to take some meaningful steps. And with support and training that she received from her case manager, she now started to think beyond survival. And today, when I talk to Charity, I completely see a different woman. She's full of smiles. She no longer looks down when she's talking to me. She meets me eye to eye with full confidence. Her progress is really visible. When we met her, we gave her 4 goats as type of a business. Now she has grown them into 9, and they continue to multiply. She runs a small grocery shop from her home, which serves her community. When I go into her house, I find bags of groundnuts, of maize from her recent harvest. So now it's no longer about eating what is there. She's now able to produce, she's able to store, and she's also able to manage her food. And she has a backyard garden with vegetables, which now can supply some nutritious food. She's able to send her children to school, and she's able to provide them with food that they need to learn and grow. If you look at her compound, the compound is clean, it's well kept. She has a toilet, and we have this simple hand washing machine that she uses. It's made of reused plastic bottle. So the story of Charity, as I mentioned, always inspires me. It's really a transformation that comes from within her. With support from her case manager, she's able to look into the future as a different person. So her story is really a testament that your support is really a plant that grows into hope and sustainability. So I think that's what I would share about Charity. Thank you, Kenzo.
Wonderful. Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Camilo. These two stories already show, even just in the photographs, but also in the story, how different the two contexts are, but also how similar the pressures that these families, these individuals and their families face. Laura's story from Colombia carries so much, right? Her difficult background, the disability care constraint, the faith dimension, doubts about whether the program will be sufficient to help her or not. But the gains that she has made are tremendous. I mean, the savings of $1,000 is just simply amazing. Charity's story from Malawi gives us a sense of the utter hopelessness that participants can start with. But then things change under the program. Her diversified income-bearing activities, the greater self-confidence when speaking to people, and her aspirations and hope for the future for herself and for her family. So these are exciting, but one of the key things here is livelihoods. So I've asked our leaders to explain more about this to us. What kind of livelihoods are considered? How is this built, adapted, and what helps these livelihoods stick so that they don't disappear once the program is over? Richard, would you be willing to start us off?
Thank you, Genzo. Yeah, so when we look into our communities, the main types of businesses and livelihoods, livestock, these would be like goats, just as we saw charity, pigs, small grocery shops, farm produce, small fish, second-hand clothes, and such type of businesses. However, if we talk of sustainability is really built into every step of our approach. We begin with a community assessment to understand which livelihoods and enterprises already work well locally. Now, this ensures that the opportunities we support are practical and relevant to that context. Then we work directly with the participants to explore different enterprise options. So we discuss the advantages and disadvantages of each enterprise. Then the participants will now choose which business best match their capabilities, their skills, and their interest. This creates ownership and also increases the likelihood of long-term success. We continue with now the case managers visiting each participant weekly, providing them with coaching and mentoring support as they run their businesses. Now together, they address those challenges, identify opportunities, and strengthen their skills. So basically, we combine local insight, the participant choice, and also ongoing support to make sure that these businesses are sustainable. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Richard. Camilo, how about in Colombia?
Yes, Genzo, we have found in the urban context that food, handcrafting, recycling, beauty, and sewing businesses are the most common, but also the most profitable in the communities that we are serving. And the success and sustainability of our impact begins with the client's commitment. Of course, this is added to the training that they receive in the economic and in the soft skills aspects, and the close follow-up that they have from the staff, not only in the income or livelihood aspects, but also in the psychosocial one. And of course, also the training that they have received will allow them to make better choices by themselves in their lives when we are not with them. And this is what makes the impact of this program sustainable. It has been what we have found in communities that we are serving.
Wonderful. Thank you again, both of you. Moving on, one of the things that often gets missed when we talk about the graduation program is how no single organization can do it alone. Partnerships of various kinds with local organizations, funders, and other interventions can really add strength to the program, and it can really matter. Would you be willing to talk a little bit about partnerships that strengthen your graduation work? Camilo, would you be willing to start us off?
Of course, Genzo. So let me start at the community level. We partner community leaders. Without them, we cannot go into the communities and have an assessment of the poorest among the extreme poor and be able to select the right clients. We have been able to partner as well with the public sector, with the city of Cartagena, which allowed us in the second cohort to double the number of families that we plan to serve, going from 250 to 500 families. Now, in the third cohort and potentially continuing afterwards, we have also been able to partner the private sector through a Colombian private natural gas transportation company, Promigas, that has invested in the seed capital of each one of the 250 families that are being served right now in Barranquilla. And this has allowed us to increase, of course, our outreach and impact with the generosity that we have received from you, our donors, individuals and corporations across the US that have believed and trusted in us to transform those families that are living in ultra poverty in Colombia.
Thank you, Camilo. And Richard, partnerships in Malawi.
Yes. So yeah, just like in Colombia, we also leverage on each other's strength. We work with the community structures, such as the village development committees that are there to make sure that the programming is aligning with the village development plans. And there are also other organizations such as youth network organizations, the victim support units that support the gender-based violence issues. And beyond that, we work with government ministries, departments such as welfare, agriculture, veterinary, and also education to provide support to these communities. We have received a lot of support from these partners, and that also talks to the sustainability consideration to ensure that even when we move beyond the 24 months, those type of structures that are present can continue to support the people that work within the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so what this program does so wonderfully is that this is not just providing important support that helps people get back on their feet. It does that. But this program also provides a kind of platform on which others can also join with us, whether they be funders or service providers, so that we can work together to transform the lives and engage what matters, family by family, to change their lives forever.